Screen is visible for you now? Screen?
Yes, sir.
Which one?
Visible, sir.
Can you say what is the title of the screen? Topic?
Tests for heteroscedasticity.
Right. Okay. Good. Then, so after come to know that what are the causes and consequences, then how we can detect the heteroscedasticity? Nothing but how we can identify whether the particular model is suffering from heteroscedasticity or not. Okay, so there are some tests for heteroscedasticity. So how we can come? Nothing but see when you visit when you go to some hospital. So you may say you are expert that you have been suffering from this kind of situation, or else I have been getting some problem. So what the doctor can think that they will use some test. So they will take some sample of blood and they will test it. So like this. So when the model is seems to be a heteroscedasticity problem, then how we can identify whether the particular model is suffering from heteroscedasticity or not. Okay, with numerical values. That is a test for heteroscedasticity. Tests for heteroscedasticity. Nothing but there are number of tests are there to test the heteroscedasticity. So see, the presence of heteroscedasticity affect the estimation and test of the hypothesis. So as we conclude just now, the conclusion of the heteroscedasticity, the consequences. So when you are getting estimation, so the estimates are wrong. So then after getting estimation what's are wrong, then the test of hypothesis also wrong. So it may affect on the testing of hypothesis, because when you are getting standard errors are wrong, so we are going to get values, but which is not a good values. That is called, it can affect the estimation and test of the hypothesis. Then the second one, the heteroscedasticity can enter into the data due to various reasons. So the heteroscedasticity can enter, nothing but that problem of heteroscedasticity can enter into the data due to various reasons. So as I told you that in the previous day, the causes of heteroscedasticity, there's a rich people and poor people income. For example, rich people income is different and poor people income is different. When you combine this data, you will get heteroscedasticity problem. Am I right, dear students? Then the test for heteroscedasticity assume a specific nature of the heteroscedasticity. So when we are going to test the heteroscedasticity test, so that can be assumed that a specific nature of the heteroscedasticity. What type of nature it has? Then how does one know that heteroscedasticity presents in the specific situation? So how do you know that whether the particular model is getting a problem of heteroscedasticity or not? That is the thing, that how does one know that heteroscedasticity is present in a specific situation? For example, you are estimating a model, but you want to know that whether your model is suffering from heteroscedasticity or not. Okay, so there are some thumb rules are there to identify the heteroscedasticity. Okay, there are some thumb rules. So there are some tests. So there are two different ways, that are the informal method and formal method. Have you understood this point? Please, you should respond, because I could not able to understand whether you understood or not. Maheshwari, Jaypal, Manasa, Supriya, Srikant.
అర్థమైంది సార్.
Okay, sir. Clear, sir.
Okay. Then see, there are two types of methods to detect the heteroscedasticity. The first one is the informal method, and second is the formal method. So what is the formal method? What is the informal method? We will come to know that. So in the informal method, there are two types of methods. First one is the nature of the problem. Second one is the graphical method. Within the informal method, there are two types: nature of the problem and graphical method. So what is the nature of the problem? If we found that residuals or errors variance around the regression or of consumption on income, income increase with income. For example, when you calculate the consumption function, when you apply the simple regression equation, that is y is equal to c plus beta 0 plus beta 1 x1. So here y is called consumption, x is called income. So when you get the value, when you get errors, that is the residual, that is the y minus y cap value, that is the errors, the variance around the regression of consumption. Nothing but, see, when you plot the graph, right, straight line. So when you put a actual value and estimated value, see, so when there is a difference between actual and error value, actual value and estimated value, That should be the error. So when we are finding the variance of the error term, okay, then only we'll come to know that whether the particular model is suffering from heteroscedasticity. Okay, so as I told you in the previous day, so if the norm, when you draw a normal distribution, it should be same. Nothing but all the variables, all the errors value should have same variance. All the errors value should have same variance. They generally assume that in the similar surveys, one can accept unequal variance among the disturbance or error term. For sometimes, see, when there is an unequal variance, for example, as I told you in the beginning, shall I show you? I will remember. Hello? See, here. See, when you plot a this is a this is a actual value, this is the estimated value. When there's a difference between the actual value and estimated value, so when you plot a normal distribution curve on a particular graph, so if normal distribution is same for all the observations, nothing but the variance of the error term is same for all the observations. That is called homoscedasticity. When variance of the error term is not constant, see here the difference is between actual value and estimated value is so long. When if you compare this one, there's a small difference. When you compare this one, there's a very small between that actual value and estimated value. So when you get such kind of things only, that is called heteroscedasticity. Heteroscedasticity. Have you seen this one? Hello. Are you able to see the graph of heteroscedasticity or homoscedasticity?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
See, that is the nature of the problem. So generally, see here in cross-section data, are called cross-section analysis involving the investment expenditure in relation to the sales rate of interest. For example, see how much they are investing and how much the rate of interest. So if they want to examine the relation between that investment expenditure or rate of interest. So the heteroscedasticity is generally expected if the small and medium and large farmers are sampled together. For example, I may give the best example for that another one. See, if you club that small farmers, medium farmers, large farmers club together, for example, see the small farmers income level is different from the medium farmers income level, and the medium farmers income level is different from the large farmers. Okay, so when you combine this data, so you will get a heteroscedasticity problem. Am I right, dear students?
Yes, sir.
Then graphical method. See, as I told you in the earlier, just now also, the graphical method. So if there is no priori or empirical information about the nature of the heteroscedasticity, so before putting a graph, so we don't have the idea or information about the nature of the heteroscedasticity, whether the particular model is affecting from that heteroscedasticity or not. So in practice, one can do the regression analysis on the assumptions that there is no heteroscedasticity and do a post-mortem examination of the residual E square. There is a sum of residual squares to see if they exhibit any systematic pattern or not. So simple, see, generally when somebody is dead, so how we can identify whether the what is the reason for death. So after postmortem analysis only, the doctor will explain that due to this reason only he has died. Am I right? So here also after estimating the model, then only we will come to know that whether the particular model is suffering from heteroscedasticity or not. So this is a pattern. So in the above pattern, see A, see that there is no systematic pattern between the two variables, suggesting a perhaps no heteroscedasticity in the presence of data. See when you plot the graph, see, so you will get same variance. For example, straight line will come like this. Between these two lines, so in the middle it will come. Nothing but the dots are very close to the straight line. Here, if you put the straight line, you will get the variance is the dots are very close to the line. But if you put a straight line, see, if you put a straight line between the two lines, see. So when the sample is increases, the variance of the error term will be also increases. So here also it may be somewhat extent, but here and here. See, from A to B, from A to either A, B, C, D. However, exhibit the different pattern. For instance, we suggest a linear relationship. For example, see here is a linear relationship. Whereas figure 18D, D1, D and E, D and E, which indicates a quadratic relation, nothing but here. See, when the graph is it is not straight line, as we can say that is a non-linear, or that is a non-linear, whether it may be quadratic or cubic or power function. Okay, so that indicates the quadratic relationship between the errors and estimated value. This is a E cap or E hat to I, that is a observation of error term and with the estimated values. So when there is an exam relation between this estimated y value and error value, so if the pattern is like this is a quadratic relation. So if it is like this, it is a quadratic relation. It is not a straight line. Simply we can say the non-linear relationship between the error values and estimated values. So using such this kind of knowledge, so albeit informal, so one may transfer the data into such manner that the transformed data do not exhibit heteroscedasticity. So as I told you that consequences of heteroscedasticity. So and also at the same time causes of heteroscedasticity. As I told you that there should be a transformation of the data. See, each and every variable we should transfer into the different, whether log form or natural logarithm form. So in order to maintain the uniformity among the variables, we should convert the data or transform the data into a different form. That is whether log form or natural logarithm form or any other form or cost difference method. Then after completion of the informal method, we have the formal methods. Formal method, there are some tests. So there are various tests available in the literature. See, if you observe, there are 5 or 6 tests which are very important, which we can use more. So the first one is a Park test. Second one is a Glaser test. Third one is a Goldfield quant test. Fourth one, a Spearman rank correlation test. And fifth one, Butterlet test. And sixth one is a Bruch-Pagan test. Then seventh one, White test. And eighth one, Ramsey test. Ninth one, Harvey-Phillips test. And 10th one, what we can say, the Sigerotter test. And 11th one, a peak test. That's a non-parametric test. So there are number of tests are available in the literature. How we can identify the heteroscedasticity? I will remember this thing. What are the tests are there? I think in the recent UGC exam, they might have asked that. So match the followings. So they will give one side heteroscedasticity and another side they will give the tests. Okay. The Park test, Glaser test, and Goldfield test, and Spearman rank correlation test, Bruch-Pagan test. So we will discuss. These are the main 4 or 5 tests are very important, which we will discuss today. The time for me we will discuss. Okay. Then first one is a Park test. What is a Park test here? The Park test formalizes the graphical method by suggesting the there is a variance standard. There is a sigma. Sigma means we can see a standard deviation of the variance is a function of the explanatory variable of xi. So when you write a functional form, what the Park has suggested that is a C. And when we are converting the data into the natural logarithm, that is called ln. It is not 1n. It is a ln. Ln sigma square I. That is a variance square is equal ln sigma square plus beta 1 ln xi plus vi. So here the variance of the error term is depends on what? Independent variables. See where the vi here, what is vi is a stochastic disturbance. That is called error term. So when you are taking the various error term here, if you take that here v, sometimes as I told you at the end, error term is indicated with mu, epsilon, u, and e. But when you take that variable as a dependent variable, so there is a random changes, nothing but random variable. That is a v is nothing but random variable. Here error is depends on another error term. Okay, that is v. And since variance of the is generally not known, for example, we don't know what is the variance of the model, then Park suggested using that variance is as a proxy and running the following regression. See, So as we know that how much the variance is there, so we don't know. That's why we can run the model. That is a natural logarithm estimated error. That is a u2I is equal to natural logarithm of variance square plus beta 1 ln xi plus vi. So is equal when we convert, that is alpha plus beta 1 ln xi plus vi. So if the b turns out to be statistically significant, see here b value. So when b can be statistically significant, so we can say that by using t-test. T is equal to coefficient of beta by standard of beta value. Okay, well, if in case if the b is turns out to be significant, it would suggest that heteroscedasticity is present in the data. Nothing but when the beta value is present in a model, when you are running the variance of the error term, it means that the coefficient of x1 is influencing the error term. It means that the variance of the error term is depends on the x1 xi value. It means that so there is a heteroscedasticity problem is there in our model. If turns out to be insignificant, for example, when you test the t values, if it is not significant, what we can say that we may accept the assumptions of most codacity. Nothing but when a t value is not equal to not more than 1.96, so we may conclude that which is not significant, which is not affecting significantly on variance of the error term. So what we can see that there is no heteroscedasticity problem. There is a homoscedasticity problem. So I hope you understood this thing, dear students.
Yes, sir, clear. Sir.
Yes, sir.
So then the Park test is that a two-stage procedure. In the first stage, we run wireless regression. Okay, so disaggregating the heteroscedasticity equation, we obtain that UI value. That is called error values. We need to get by wireless method. Okay, how we can get UI values? That is error values y minus y cap. As I told you earlier, in the how we can estimate the error values also. There is nothing but y minus y cap. So y is provided already in the data. So we need to estimate the y cap values. So when you are getting y minus y cap value, you will get error values. So how we can get error values? By using the wireless method. Then in the second stage, we run the regression. That is the second regression. This is the second regression. Okay. So although the empirically appealing, the Park test has some problems. So each and every test has some problem. So another thing, the Goldfeld and Quant have argued that the error term vi entering into the second equation. See, as I told you that here also the present year error is dependent on the variance of the error term is depends on the another random variable or other error term. So when there's a error term is entered into the model, we may not satisfy the wireless assumptions because the present error depends on the other random variables. So if you take the variance of the error term is depends on the another random term, nothing but other error. So here it is not satisfy the wireless assumption, may itself be heteroscedastic. So as Goldfeld and Kohn told that, so which is not a good one. So it violates the assumptions of wireless. So it may be treated as a heteroscedastic. Then nonetheless, the explanatory method, one may use the Park test. So when simply that the strictly explanatory method, so one may use the Park test. Okay. Then there are two procedures. There is, as I told you that first stage and second stage. The first stage we can use the wireless regression method. The second stage we can use log linear, that is a natural logarithm, to know the relationship between the between significant and insignificant. So as I told you that beta is significant, there is a heteroscedasticity. If the beta value is not significant or insignificant, so we can say that there is no heteroscedasticity. There is only homoscedasticity. So to examine the explanatory coefficient of explanatory variables. So here, see, as I conclude that if the coefficient value is not significant in the log linear regression model, the Park test may conclude that there is no heteroscedasticity. See, as I told you that if the a coefficient value is insignificant or not significant, the Park test may conclude that there is no heteroscedasticity. Okay. Have you understood, dear students?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then we will go with the Glaser test. Glaser test. The Glaser test is the second one. The Glaser test, what it tells us it is similar to in spirit to the Park test. After obtaining the residual, that is error term from the wireless method. Same the Glaser test also will do after applying the wireless method. After getting the error values only, they will apply the Glaser test. So Glaser test suggested regressing the absolute values of ui on the x variable. Nothing but as I told you that variance of the error term errors is depends on the x variable. That is though to be closely associated with the variance of the variance. That is the variance of the I value. Here sigma square is a variance. Okay, not sigma 2i. This is a sigma square I. Okay, so ith variance of the, okay, we need to call ith variance. So based on the relation between the two in the regression model, the equation to eliminate the or delete the heteroscedasticity. So the what the Glaser has found that for large sample, the four of the procedures models give the generally satisfactory results with the heteroscedasticity. For example, if you take into account, so there are other tests also there which when satisfy the results, that is the first four preceding models give the generally satisfactory results. How we can get the heteroscedasticity? So as a practical matter, so therefore the Glaser technique may be used for the large sample. Nothing but when we are going to use the Glaser test, whether we are particular model has been suffering from heteroscedasticity or not, when we have the large sample, only we need to use Glaser test. Simple. Remember, when we have the small size sample size, we don't want to use the Glaser test. When we have the large sample or more sample, so we can use the Glaser test. Okay, so it may be used in the small sample strictly as a qualitative device to learn something about heteroscedasticity. If you apply for the small sample also, you may get, but in order to strictly under qualitative device to learn something about heteroscedasticity. So if you want what is the heteroscedasticity, how much it is existing, so that much only you will get it, but you will not get accurate results when you are applying for the small samples. So before going that, see time is going to out. So please rejoin. Then we will discuss these types of tests. Then I will close the session. Okay. So please rejoin. All the people should rejoin with the same ID, same password after 1 minute. Okay. I'm going to close the session.